You brought it in here. It's here.
Yeah.
All those experiences are here.
Welcome to Stout Conversations, where every week we sit down with creative thinkers in the craft beer industry and beyond. Your hosts, Ken and April, live and work in a 24-foot RV, traveling the country in search of great stories around a great beer. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. This week we talk with Jordan Fink, globetrotter, educator, Woods Boss, and now co-owner of Woods Boss Brewing Company in the 5 Points neighborhood on the edge of downtown Denver. Bringing the outdoors in, building community, and living with intention, Jordan and his team are true definitions of a Woods Boss.
And forgive some of the noise in the background. It's just we're in an operational brewery right now, so there's people doing their thing. Ryan's back there making beer. We got people getting ready. Can't wait for Woods Boss to open, so they're coming in early, knocking on the door. And we're not turning people away. It's a casual conversation.
No.
Because this is Woods Boss we're at right now with Jordan.
Hi.
You're like really fostering a community here.
That was our intent. There's a lot of things that go into becoming an entrepreneur. One, you got to have a passion about a thing, right? For me, it was making beer. But two, you have to have a reason why you want to do it. So I used to work in the nonprofit world, and I'm a very idealistic sort of person. I worked in education-based nonprofits, youth conservation-based nonprofits, a host of other different things. And I loved it. I loved giving back to the world at large. And when I wanted to think about opening my own business someday, the first question was, why do I want to do it? Not what do I want to do, but what's the point? And the point was to be able to give back in ways that I was limited in as an employee, as someone on the ground. I had a very specific focus, but in this way, we try to, as corny as it might sound, impact the larger through our own little way of going about stuff.
No, that makes a lot of sense because I know you have, you've done some Forest Service work and things like that. But when you do that, your whole focus is on that.
Yes.
That one aspect. And if you want to do bigger things, that's hard. It's hard to have enough time, enough resources.
Sure. And
this lets you still do that. With some of the organizations that you guys work with, a lot of nonprofits and community organizations, and you guys you still get to do your trail building and things like that.
Sure.
You get to go out there and sweat up and down the trail like the rest of us.
That's my happy place.
But now you can reach into other areas too that you're passionate about.
It's absolutely true. I mean, we like to talk about the idea of the third space, right? So first space being home, second space being work, third space is where do you go when you're not those places? Where do you go to find community? Where do you go to enjoy yourself, to hopefully grow, learn, whatever? And it sounds trite to think that maybe that can happen in a brewery, but we like to think that it's possible.
No, I think that very much can happen in a brewery, because that's kind of where our idea for Stout Conversations came from, was that we found we're just craft beer junkies, and so as we travel around, we always meet really cool people.
Hi.
I can't stay out of this conversation.
This is our off-camera April.
Well, you're talking about education and conservation and nonprofit, and it's all the things that I have a passion
and
about.
what we love.
Yeah, and beer.
And we meet so many great people around beer. So
you wanted to try the magical narwhal candy cane unicorn, and that should be that.
Magical narwhal candy cane unicorn. So you got all the fun, crazy stuff into one. You smashed it down into a glass.
That's really good. This is how you enjoy narwhals.
Yeah. It's like a chocolate candy cane in a beer.
Want to swim with the narwhals?
So for the Denver Only Festivus, the folks who put it on, they ask different breweries every year to brew the welcome beer and have fun with it. So two parts who put it on approached us, said, hey, any interest in brewing the welcome beer? We're like, sure. What do you want to make? Something fun. So in a working brewery.
In a working brewery. So
that was Ryan back there, by the way.
And Mark.
Lugging around some big heavy stuff.
Exactly. So, I mean, I've got certain philosophies about beer, right? I like my beer to be beer. It took me a while, and I've been drinking beer for a long time, craft beer. I moved to Colorado in 1995, 17 years old, going to CU Boulder, and the only thing I wanted to drink was Fat Tire back then and Ellie's Brown. They were amazing.
Those were gateway beers for us.
Oh yeah, totally. And then it's just been a love affair ever since. But as the world of beer has progressed, there were, I'm not ashamed to admit, times that I was a little slow on to the train in terms of adding adjuncts, fruits, stuff like that. And I think part of it was that people were still figuring out how to do it. So the way that I philosophize about beer is make a really good beer. That's what we try to do here. People would always ask me if we're going to focus. I said, yes, we're going to focus on making great fucking beer. Is it okay if I curse?
Yeah,
fuck it. Cool. Go for it.
Good. I'm originally a New Yorker, so it just comes naturally.
Not a problem at all.
And secondly, we wanted to make beer that was approachable and beer that we enjoyed. So I have no problem adding stuff to it. We do it all the time, but the way that we go about it is that it should be a note that is part of the larger symphony of the beer itself, rather than something that overpowers it. If I come across a beer that, let's take a common one like a vanilla stout or vanilla porter, and the only thing you taste is vanilla, then it's not a well-designed beer, right? All you taste is vanilla. It could be anything behind it.
Which, like, porter or stout, would you say is like a really good porter or stout, but it doesn't have like the overpowering thing?
That is our Sweet Hook porter, and then for comparison, this is our oatmeal brown. So we do a very light addition of sweet orange peel as a dry hop. Yeah.
Okay.
The oatmeal brown is sort of a crossover between, it's mostly a brown, but it's got some porter and some stout-like attributes to it. So it's really nice, but
Yes, it is.
creamy and smooth and light, but with good body.
A little roastier on the stout side, or porter side.
Yeah.
And a little, that's where I guess you get more of the brown, is not so much of the roasty, toasty coffee.
Yep. A little bit softer.
And while I've got you here,
Yep.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sweet.
Difference between a porter and a stout.
Yeah, totally.
There are a lot of people weigh in very differently on that, and not too many people have.
Hey, Ryan! Ryan! Come here!
We're calling in the reserves.
I just want some backup for this. Here's the way that I interpret stouts versus porters.
Here, you join right here.
Yeah. Ryan's our Huckleberry. He does everything. He was our first employee. Ryan and I met when we were both brewing at Tommyknocker, and I told him after
Great
we
mountain
became
brewery in Idaho Springs.
Yeah. We became great friends instantly, had weird pseudo-family connections, and we both love beer and brewing and have very similar ways about going about the world. And I told him that when I go to start my own brewery, which I'm doing, you're coming with me. He's like, yeah, sweet, we'll see if that ever happens.
But did you first ask him if he knew the difference between a porter and a stout?
No, that conversation came up.
Man.
It came up later. Here's the way that I see it, right? A porter is lighter in body, it's dry, it is oftentimes a little bit more well balanced, which doesn't tell you anything other than on your own palate.
Well, it's a cleaner beer, there's no lingering roasted flavors.
Yeah.
Everything finishes sharp and gone, whereas a stout lingers pleasantly on your tongue.
It does.
It's more chocolate, toffee, coffee notes that kind of hit and then go.
Notes of anise oftentimes in stouts that you are not looking for in a porter. There's subtle differences. They are in the same family of beers, but they're more fraternal twins than they are, distant blood relatives. Brewing process is pretty similar. For our porters, we tend to mash at a lower temperature because we're trying to get that dry, clean finish. And stouts, we're looking for more body, a little bit more of that residual sweetness, so we'll mash at a higher temperature so that it ends up just a little bit sweeter, even if it's a dry stout.
There's exceptions to it.
There's always exceptions.
Yeah.
It's beer.
Yeah.
It is beer. Yeah.
And then Mind the Curve is a whole nother
Totally.
amalgam of beers that don't quite cover anything except they cover everything.
We love certain styles, but we don't worry too much about brewing traditionally to style. We'll take a style that we love and we'll put our own spin on it. And it might not be an adjunct, it might just be using some grains that you wouldn't necessarily think of, staying true to the style, but tweaking it a little bit.
Right. And you guys don't really target in on we're a great IPA brewer or we're a sour brewer. Or obviously you keep 20 beers on tap all the time here.
We're a community brewery, so the thing that we like to say is, I don't care what you like, but you're going to find something you like here.
Yeah.
So regardless of where your taste buds take you, there should be at least one, hopefully 10 beers that you're going to be really excited about and really enjoy when you come in.
Yeah.
So we have stuff for the hopheads, we have stuff for the malt heads, we have stuff for the Belgian folks that love that. We have
how about the folks that like the PBR or the Coors or the Budweiser? Do you have a couple on that end?
We have beer that we
have your
people on to
gateway
beer
beers?
that they don't even like beer, and we're like,
The
just
gateway
hold on a
beers,
minute, let me
right?
give you a taste of this. And it's not so much that they don't like beer; they just don't realize what
that's
broad
very,
spectrum of beer
very
flavors
clear.
that there
Yep,
is.
that's starting early. We call it affectionately a trash lager. It's basically an American adjunct lager, so it's 15% rice, 15% corn, Pilsner.
It's got that really clean, not very heavy flavor, but a little bit sweet.
Yeah, but
Probably
still
from the corn, I assume.
Still a well-crafted beer. I mean, we're very intentional about it. And we always have something like that on. We'll rotate between that, our cream ale or Kolsch or something along those lines. The other one that we do well for the introductory folks, but is a fantastic beer, is our golden wheat ale brewed with juniper berries.
That's right in my wheelhouse there. You said juniper berries.
We were turning people onto that before we started brewing our lagers here. That was what we would give lager drinkers, just because it kind of hits on all the same. It doesn't finish the same, obviously, because it's an ale. But it's a clean, drinkable, approachable beer.
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't hit you too much with anything, any one thing. Although none of the beers I've tasted, like, there's nothing that's just like, it's that one thing that really punches you in the face.
Well, we're trying to make balanced beer.
Maybe we got one of those.
We
Some
always
stuff,
have,
but we strive for balance and clean finishes in all our beer.
Yep.
And I think that we
There's a
approach
little
that.
tartness to this one.
Certain styles don't lend
Maybe some
themselves
bread
to
in it.
finish so clean, but
Yeah. So that's our fruited kettle sour, brewed with prickly pear and passion fruit. Super refreshing,
That's
clean.
a very approachable sour, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't turn your face inside out and make you pucker up. You know,
there's no off
It's a good.
weird notes that other bacteria bring. There's none of the barnyard. There's no kind of funk.
That's really good.
It's just clean.
We gotta hand this off to our behind the camera person,
So, but
because she's very critical of sours.
the prickly pear and cactus fruit, does that? I've been kind of wanting to get into like more of your background with Woods Boss.
Sure.
And like your kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Loving.
Joie de
Outdoors.
vivre.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the outdoors and like. Does any of your experiences help name your beer or create your beers?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
Kind
mean,
of go more with that.
the names come from all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
Go back to work.
Get back to work. Somebody's got to make the beer.
Right.
Otherwise, we run out of stuff to
And
drink.
someone's got to open the tap room in about half hour, 45 minutes. But no worries. Everything we do is influenced by our past. And so Woods Boss comes from my personal history. I worked for the U.S. Forest Service for a number of years. In high school, I spent the summer volunteering, doing trail work with the Student Conservation Association. Fell in love with, being in the woods. Middle class Jewish kid from New York going out west and living in the woods. This is not what people did where I came from. But my folks always took us out west, took us out to the woods. And
Are you talking New York City style?
suburbs, yeah. I mean, where I lived was all rolling forest hills. I mean, my backyard was a 250-acre Audubon Society preserve. I'd walk out my back door and be in the woods, covered in ticks and poison ivy, but loving it anyway. So in and out of college, taking time, ski bumming, working for the Forest Service, building trails. Started as a grunt, ended up as trail boss, designing, surveying trails for up in Vail. That's where I was based out of. So Eagle County, White River National Forest. Ended up moving up to the Pacific Northwest, transferring to school to this hippy-dippy college called the Evergreen State College. Used to have hair down here with,
A lot of us did.
yeah, pep rats and, taking time off from whatever I might be doing to go follow the dead and fish and all that sort of stuff. But I ended up working for a youth conservation corps called the Northwest Youth Corps. And what we did was take groups of teenagers out in the woods for 5-6 weeks at a time and do trail work, conservation, environmental education, life skills, work skills, team building, helping them learn how to become less of an asshole than they might have been when they showed up. That was sort of how I described it, as well as try to help them gain a connection and appreciation for the natural world while maintaining it and creating opportunities for people to be able to go out and enjoy. So my job title ultimately, as I moved up the ranks, was Woods Boss. So I managed 4 crews of 10 teenagers and 2 adults out in the wilds of Oregon, Washington, Northern California, wherever. Doing that. It was a crazy life. It was the best job I've ever had, the most intense, the most hardest job I've ever had. All of my most formative, batshit crazy life lessons as a young man came during there. It's where I met my wife. It's where I grew into the person that I wanted to be and has sort of stayed with me throughout. So Woods Boss is not just a job, but it's also a philosophy, a way of interacting with the world and interacting with people, ideas around community, around work ethic, around taking care of each other. That all comes from that. So when we were...
And you brought that all back in here. And I mean, it's not just... I mean, you obviously have you brought the outdoors into Woods Boss in the tap room and the brewery here.
Well, we love wood and stone
and
all that, yeah.
But that is just a reflection of that, though. You know?
Sure.
It's a reflection of your values and of what you want to make around Woods Boss.
Right. Which actually brings me back to the point that being a Woods Boss is actually less about you and more about everyone else. So while this place comes from my own history, this was originally my idea, and I was looking for a partner and found Chad, who is the perfect fit, and that guy is one of the hardest working motherfuckers I've ever met in my life. And he's brilliant and he's fun, and we share a lot of the same interests and all that sort of stuff. It does come from my history, but this is where it's great. Anyone could be a Woods Boss. Anyone could buy into those values, those ways of treating people in the world, an interest in growing and learning and all that sort of stuff. And that's what we try to...
outside of just the woods. Like you said, the philosophy carries over, and you're doing it here in this community. We're on the edge of downtown Denver, and we're on the edge also of another community that, has had some struggles.
Yeah.
But it's up and coming. This area is... You guys are part of that revitalization effort where you're building it's almost like a community center inside a brewery, I guess. I'm sorry.
I did because right as we were about to open, Westward did this really nice article for us. And then Westward also published a point counterpoint article. They pulled a couple of comments from the original article, one of which was like, great, more... hipster douchebags gentrifying 5 points, and I was like, come on, man. And it's interesting because within a month of us opening, our very first nonprofit support project was Colorado Coalition for the Homeless, and we ended up donating close to $3,000 worth of money to that particular cause.
Yeah, you got a little maybe kind of some backhanded criticism there for being part of it, but
they didn't know us. They didn't know what we were all about. They just, it's not uncommon, and it's understandable to some degree, though I try not to do it.
Because a lot of people who don't have means, who aren't that middle class or upper middle class, they kind of get pushed out.
Right.
People who are in that depressed neighborhood, where do they go when that neighborhood revitalizes?
Yeah.
But
it's challenging stuff.
But with a business like yours, you guys realize that and go, maybe there's a way we can help.
Yeah.
We can be part of the solution to not only helping the neighborhood rise up, but also helping the people rise up who lived here before you were here.
Yeah. So. The point is that we have no control over what's going on with the larger neighborhood, but it was an opportunity for us to be able to do something here, and in trying to be considerate of the neighborhood as a whole, we work hard to try to be as inclusive as we possibly can, to try to create opportunities and events for stuff to happen here that bring in the entire neighborhood. So that's one of the things that we go about. But we also want to try to be fair and balanced in terms of our prices, right? So we have at least 4 or more $5 pints in downtown Denver at our brewery. And we make the choice to say we want to have craft beer be accessible and not price people out of it. Get them excited, and then
you are a traveler, and so is
Yeah.
Chad. And I mean, you helped. I know, reading about you, you helped build a brewery in Nepal.
Yeah.
It wasn't your brewery, but you helped the guys around there.
Yeah, so
which is crazy. I mean, a brewery in Nepal.
Yeah, it's first craft brewery in Nepal.
You went to Nepal.
Yeah, and he said, "Look, I'm hiring these guys because I need 2 guys, and they work together. I think you're great. I want to work with you. I'm starting this brewery in Nepal. I want you to be my start pet brewer. What do you think?" And I was like, "Fuck, Charlie! Like, where were you when I was in my 20s? I've got a wife, I've got a dog, I've got a house. I'm trying to start my own brewery sort of stuff. But let me talk to my wife, and she was super supportive. She's like, fuck!
That sounds super supportive to me. That's what April says every time.
I want to go, but look, it's going to suck for me, but you have to go. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. So I did.
And so, like you said, you had plans to open your own brewery, right? So you do it while you're opening somebody else's brewery in Nepal. You start planning your own, right?
Right, and so, I was in Nepal for 7 months. Finally got the brewery up and running, beating my head against handmade bricks, literally trying to get it up and running, just equipment challenges and trying to open a, advanced craft brewery in the third world, for lack of a better expression. Was extremely challenging. I learned a lot. I had to teach myself brewery engineering and process and canning. We bought Ska's old canning line, and I had to reverse engineer the fucking thing and rip it apart and put it back together and go down the road to the metalsmith engineer and have them hand make parts for us. It was amazing, really challenging, really fun. And then I was there for the earthquake. I was actually right below Everest Base Camp. Watched the avalanche come down, got hit by the powder cloud, went hiking up with these really interesting people that I'd met, looking for people that were lost or hurt or dead. I'm a volunteer firefighter, so I've got search and rescue and medical experience. So I was like, they could probably use some folks. I was sick as shit from altitude sickness, and finally
you were setting the bar really high. People don't want to be a Woods Boss.
No,
everyone should want to be a Woods Boss.
I'm thinking I should bow down to you.
No, stop. Look,
I'm impressed.
We all do what we do.
When does the movie come out?
Never. No one's that interesting. Anyway, so I finally got back. I was really sick, just from physical.
That's a lot.
Spiritual, emotional. I've been gone for 7 months. I showed it back up. 3 days later, I was back.
A lot of things over there.
Yeah.
Not just opening a brewery in a tough situation, but then to go through the earthquake, avalanche. That's a lot of trauma.
I always feel bad about this because people think it was this really intense experience for me, and maybe it was, but I tend to not think in those terms. My experience in that was actually not that bad. I was in a country that was completely fucked, 30,000 people dead, all that sort of stuff, but I wasn't personally severely impacted. I was in a disaster area, but I was never injured. I had places to sleep.
And you can leave. You get to come back
and
to
I got
home.
to go home.
And that's like the biggest thing right there.
My timeline didn't change. I was, extremely lucky, serendipity. Every one of my original plans came through as if the earthquake never happened.
Well, it's just perspective.
Yeah.
Your perspective. You have a good grasp on your perspective.
But I think
what
a lot
did
of
it
people
really do to you? A lot of people embody that tragedy, and it overwhelms them a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I think a lot of people in that same
process a little
situation, though, would have a hard time kind of admitting what you just did because they feel like they should feel something more.
Yeah.
You feel it, but
don't get me wrong.
No, that's not what I meant.
It was intense and traumatic and all that.
You have the understanding that it didn't impact you the way it did the people who are actually
of course not.
there.
Yeah. No, it was fucked up. I got finally back to Kathmandu, and I went to the U.S. Embassy to check in. I was out of communication for a couple of days. I was able to get a hold of my wife and my family, let them know the earthquake happened and that was okay. I get back from Nepal. Chad and I sit down for a beer together, and we'd been talking for months, obviously, but hadn't really formalized anything. Looked at each other and said, what do we think? And we're like, yeah, we want to do this. Let's do this. So we started working hard on our business plans, started understanding financials. I was teaching Chad what I knew about the industry while learning more about the industry, and all that sort of stuff, reaching out to people that started breweries, trying to understand what's going on. We found a place up in Evergreen. I live in the hills, and always had this dream of opening this little mountain brewery. I opened a slightly larger mountain brewery just in the city, so it worked out well.
That does work well.
But we had a lease in place. It fell through at the last minute. During that time, Chad had planned to buy a truck, retrofit it, ship it down to Buenos Aires, meet up with the truck, with his wife and dog, and then spend the next 8 some odd months living out of their truck, driving the Pan American Highway from Buenos Aires all the way back up to Colombia is what they actually did.
And the adventurous spirit is totally in this brewery.
So you go to open a brewery,
and it was
you guys
great.
are globe trekking.
Yeah, totally. It was great. He's like, I just want to let you know.
Make it easy on yourselves.
Yeah, he's like, I want to let you know that my wife and I have been planning on doing this, and I need to do this. If that's going to be a problem for you, let me know. I was like, go.
Yeah,
all of my friends and my family were like, what the fuck are you? You're opening a business and he's leaving for 8 months? Like, he's not the right guy. I was like, he's the right guy.
No, that's the perfect
I was
guy.
like,
you guys
this is the guy.
because you brought it in here. It's here.
Yeah.
All those experiences are here.
They've all
They
since
made this what it
apologized.
is.
They're like, no, you were right. We should have listened to you. So
The way you're doing Woods Boss, that all fits.
Yeah. If
you guys didn't do those things that you've done, Woods Boss wouldn't be Woods Boss.
True.
Because I see, we've talked about your devotion to the community and nonprofits and such. I mean, right now I can see up on your board, you've got money going to a nonprofit. I mean, you've got one here for dedicated to Violence-Free Colorado. I'm not sure where's the other ones up here.
So we slightly color code. So the burgundy ones are collaborations.
Okay.
Sometimes collaborations are also benefit beers, but the benefit beers are that raspberry color.
Right.
So Riparian Conservation was part of the Making Noise Pussy Riot collaboration series. They're on volume 8 now, I believe. We've participated in 2 of them, where we brew a beer and donate $1 of every pint that we ever sell from an entire batch. Works out to be about $2,000, $2,500, which is not nothing, especially for a business our size, to a nonprofit. So Riparian Conservation is for Colorado Water Trust. I used to be a hydrologist, and water is going to be and always has been.
How old are you now?
41.
You've done a lot of stuff in 41 years. A lot of stuff. You've been
I also used to sling euros in a deli. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Over the River and Through the Woods was a collaboration we did with Good River. They focus on water stuff, so we're both donating our portion of the beer to a nonprofit. That one's through Conservation Colorado.
Another element of community is something that I haven't really seen much in the craft beer industry, although it probably happens on a buddy level, but you guys have a shadow brewer program.
We do, yeah.
Which maybe you can tell me more, because it seems like it's a good way to get people to connect with not just Woods Boss, but just like the beer they drink, and you're actually showing people how to have that happen with your shadow brewing.
I mean, we're open to everyone from knows nothing about beer to professional brewers. So Ryan and I both got our shot because someone let us hang out in them, which then turned into jobs. So it's a little bit of a pay it forward sort of thing. But at the end of the day, we're not trying to keep our knowledge to ourselves. We see this industry as one of community and family, and if you want to join this family in whatever capacity, we want to help you be part of it. So we created this Shadow Brewers program, which anyone can sign up for. go on the website under the community tab, and there's some information. We do it because we enjoy doing it and want to make and build those relationships.
You are living kind of what I would almost define my Stout life as, but I'm living a Stout life as well. So
Okay.
what I mean by that is like education.
I'm almost embarrassed to ask what
No,
it is.
I want to know like a kind of a word. Maybe I'll narrow it down to a word. So like you're in education, outdoors, conservation, beer, like brewing, volunteering, traveling. That's like, yeah, that's it. That's awesome. And so Stout life has a double-edged meaning for us.
You get one life.
Right, exactly.
As far as I know.
Right, that's all you get as far as we know.
I don't think you even have to ask the question.
I don't, but he's already explained it. One life.
Do the best you can with it.
Yeah, so how would you define your Stout life? If you had to pick one word to define a Stout life, because you're living
One
one.
word?
Yeah, I want to hear
The
one
guy
word.
who's had like 40 lives in 41 years, and you want him to pick
Because
one
he just defined his entire Stout life.
Sure.
So,
I got a
one
word.
word.
I got a word for you. Intentional.
Like that.
I like that word.
Yeah. I mean, Thoreau used it best, but yeah. Look, figure out what you want to do and fucking do it. It's not going to be easy. You might not ultimately get there, but if you're not trying, then what do you do? And it's easy for me to say that and hard for a lot of people to do. I've been extremely lucky in my adventures and my support systems and all that sort of stuff. But, fucking do it. If you want something, figure it out. Make it happen.
I think on that note, that just has to be
I don't think
cheers.
you can say much more than
Cheers!
that. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
And I might say, while you're doing that, be good to people.
What's better than that?
And be good to the world.
It's a real Michael Fronte thing.
Do you know Michael Fronte?
You kidding me?
Freaking love Michael Fronte.
There are new episodes with new conversations every Sunday night. Be sure to subscribe and click the little gray bell so you don't miss out. We'd love to hear from you, so please leave us a comment below. Not only will this help us get found in the search engines, but it will also help us create a better experience for you, our viewers.
Action.
Action
You gotta do
Jackson.
action too? My only action is going to be picking up these beers.
What's that?
Fine, I had it all ready to go.
No,
You
because I had
fire
it ready
away.
to go.
You
Because
fire away, lady.